Welcome to Workplace English. Today we're looking at how to get a data analyst job. And, for this deep dive, we have a really practical source document to unpack.
Yeah, it's short, but it is packed with good advice.
Right. And our mission today is to figure out the why behind all these steps. Because usually when someone hands you a pile of information, you expect the facts to just speak for themselves.
hmm Like they don't need any explaining.
Exactly. Think about reading a receipt at the grocery store. You look at it and it feels like a perfectly self-contained story.
Right, it's very practical.
Yeah, you bought a gallon of milk, you bought some eggs, you paid $3, done. The truth is just right there in black and white.
It feels comforting, honestly, because it requires zero interpretation. The numbers just exist.
But then you step into the world of modern business
hmm
and big data, and suddenly that grocery receipt is 10 million lines long.
And it's probably written in 3 different languages.
Right. The ink is smeared, half the prices are missing, and somebody keeps changing the currency halfway down the page.
That is the perfect way to describe it. I mean, we are living through the absolute definition of information overload right now.
Oh, completely.
Companies are just drowning in these huge oceans of numbers, but they are starving for actual meaning. They have all this data, but they literally don't know what to do with it.
And that is exactly why we are doing this deep dive today. So whether you are, looking to transition into tech, or maybe you're prepping for a big meeting with an analytics team.
Or you just want to understand how the modern workplace actually functions.
Exactly. We want to break down this career path. The document we have covers four main things: the skills you need, what companies expect, how to prepare, and finally, interview tips.
Yeah, it captures the whole life cycle.
Yeah.
And to really understand the role, we need to look at why these specific hurdles are put in place.
Let's start with section one, the skills you need. Because before you can even think about analyzing millions of rows of data, you need a very specific mental toolkit.
You definitely do.
I was immediately struck by the educational backgrounds they highlight here. The list includes business, economics, engineering, statistics, and computer science.
It's a really broad mix.
It is. I mean, computer science and economics are completely different worlds.
They are. And I think it reveals a really fascinating dichotomy about what a data analyst actually does.
How so?
Well, when most people hear the job title, they immediately picture, like, a math prodigy. Someone sitting in a dark room typing furiously on a glowing green screen.
Right, the classic movie hacker vibe.
Exactly. And the inclusion of statistics and computer science, well, it validates that technical side. You absolutely must understand math and logic.
But I'd argue that the inclusion of business and economics tells a much more interesting story.
Oh, 100%.
Because those are subjects deeply rooted in, human behavior,
Yeah.
market forces, real-world consequences.
And that is the crucial pivot point. I mean, a successful analyst does not just calculate numbers in a vacuum. Let's say a computer science major builds this brilliant algorithm, and it spots a 5% drop in user engagement on a website.
Which is a great technical catch.
It is. But the business or economics major is trained to ask why that drop matters in the first place.
Okay, yeah. Is it because a competitor launched a new product?
Right. Or is it just a seasonal drop? Or is our pricing model completely broken?
So the technical degree helps you build the system to track the metric.
But the business background helps you understand the market dynamics causing it.
I sometimes wonder if hiring managers actually prefer the business-minded candidates over the pure coders.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because, you can have all the numbers in the world, but if you don't know the so what, you're just making noise.
Exactly. And this directly connects to the specific skills you need to develop. The source lists a mix of soft skills and technical skills.
Right. So for soft skills, we have analytical thinking, problem solving, attention to detail, and communication.
And then for technical skills, it's Excel, SQL, Basic Python, and data visualization tools.
It's a lot to learn, but think of it like a professional kitchen.
Okay, I like where this is going.
The technical skills are your physical tools, right? So Excel is your trusty chef's knife. It's ubiquitous, reliable, you use it for everyday prep.
Yep.
SQL, which is the language you use to talk to databases, is like having the keys to a massive industrial walk-in pantry.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
It's how you go into the warehouse and grab exactly the ingredients you need. Basic Python is your high-end food processor. It automates the really heavy, repetitive chopping.
Right.
And data visualization tools are your plating techniques. They make the final dish look beautiful and appetizing for the customer.
I love that framing. But, the tools themselves don't make the chef.
No, they don't.
You can own the most expensive food processor on the market, but if you don't understand flavor profiles, you're going to blend together a terrible meal.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is where the soft skills come in. Analytical thinking, problem solving, attention to detail, that is your palette.
Let's push on that attention to detail piece for a second, because honestly, it sounds like such a cliche resume buzzword.
It really does. Everybody claims to have it.
Right. So why is it highlighted as a foundational pillar here?
Because the stakes are entirely different when you are dealing with aggregate data. I mean, in a standard office job, a typo in an email is, it's embarrassing.
Sure, maybe you spell your boss's name wrong.
Right. But in data analysis, a single misplaced decimal point or pulling from the wrong database table that can literally alter the trajectory of a company.
Wow.
Imagine an executive team making a multi-million-dollar decision to close a regional office, right? And they do it based on a sales trend that doesn't actually exist.
Oh, no, just because an analyst messed up the math.
Because an analyst forgot to exclude refunded items from their SQL query.
Yikes. That is a bad day at the office.
A terrible day. The technical tools change constantly. Python might be obsolete in 20 years. But the meticulous ability to look at a messy situation, break it down, and ensure absolute accuracy, that is future-proof.
That makes total sense. You are basically the last line of defense before the data becomes corporate strategy.
Exactly.
And that transitions us into section 2, how to prepare, because we need to move from theory into practice.
Right, proving you actually have these skills.
Yeah. It is one thing to sit on your couch watching a 3-hour tutorial on Python, but it's another thing entirely to get an employer to trust you with their data.
The material outlines a very deliberate progression here. It moves from learning the tools to practicing with data to building small projects and finally to creating a portfolio.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here for a second.
Go for it.
Let's say I spend a weekend taking a boot camp on SQL, and I type SQL at the top of my resume. Isn't that enough to get my foot in the door for an entry-level job?
Not anymore.
Really? Why do I need to go through this whole multi-step process of building projects?
Well, consider the hiring manager's perspective. They are terrified of making a bad hire.
Because it costs money.
It costs time, it costs money, and it damages their own reputation. Anyone can memorize SQL definitions for an interview.
That's true.
The progression the source outlines forces you out of passive consumption and into active creation. When you just learn a tool, you are just absorbing a lecture.
You're just watching someone else do it.
Exactly. But when you move to the next step, practicing with data, the illusion of simplicity totally shatters.
Because tutorial data is a lie.
It is. It is perfectly sanitized.
Right. There are no missing fields.
No missing values. The dates are all formatted exactly the same way. There are no impossible outliers. It's a totally controlled environment.
Like a laboratory.
Yes. But real-world data is that smeared grocery receipt we talked about. It is chaotic. Practicing with real data forces you to confront the messiness.
Out in the wild, you are going to find a column for age where somebody literally typed the word banana.
Yes.
And your Python script is going to completely crash.
Which is exactly why the final 2 steps are building small projects and creating a portfolio. Those projects are proof that you know what to do when you encounter the banana in the age column.
So what makes a good project? Like, if I am building a portfolio to impress a hiring manager, should I be trying to build some massive artificial intelligence model?
No, keep it grounded and entirely focused on problem solving. A hiring manager doesn't want to see the exact same generic Titanic survival rate project that every other beginner does.
Right, because everyone downloads that same data set.
Exactly. They want to see curiosity. So maybe you scrape public data from your city's transit authority, and you use SQL to figure out which bus routes are most frequently delayed on rainy days.
Oh, that's really practical.
You analyze it, and you build a simple visual dashboard to display your findings.
It's the difference between telling someone you know how to build a house and physically walking them through a house you just built with your own hands.
A tangible portfolio completely de-risks the candidate. It is undeniable proof that you can initiate a concept, gather the raw materials, clean the mess, analyze the trends, and produce a result.
Without a professor holding your hand.
Exactly. In an inbox flooded with identical resumes, a portfolio is the only true currency.
Okay, so let's assume the portfolio works. You get the call. You are sitting in the room or on the video call with the hiring manager.
The fun part.
Right. And this brings us to section 3. What companies expect. It's a fascinating part of the material. The expectations listed are explaining your work clearly, showing problem-solving skills, understanding the data, and communicating results simply.
It is a deceptively simple list,
It really is.
but it reveals a deep psychological truth about corporate leadership.
Let's unpack that emphasis on simplicity, because it feels like a paradox to me.
How so?
Well, the work of a data analyst is inherently complex, right? You are using advanced math, you're writing code, you're querying massive server farms. So why is communicating results simply the ultimate expectation? Shouldn't I want to show them how complex my work is to prove how smart I am?
That is the most common trap for junior analysts. They suffer from this intense desire to show their work.
Like in grade school math class.
Exactly. They get into a presentation with the chief marketing officer, and they start explaining the nested SQL queries and the statistical p-values they used.
And the CMO's eyes just glaze over.
The CMO does not care. They literally don't have the time or the background to care. They are paying you to make their business decisions easier, not to give them a computer science lecture.
I want to try a new analogy here, because I think the whole duck on a pond thing is completely overused.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think of a data analyst like a master watchmaker. The executive wearing the watch does not want to see the hundreds of tiny gears, the springs, all the intricate mechanisms constantly grinding away inside.
Right.
If they see the gears, the watch is broken. All the executive wants to see is a clean, beautiful face that tells them exactly what time it is.
That captures the dynamic perfectly. The true value of a data analyst is acting as a translator.
A translator, I like that.
Your entire purpose is to bury the complexity. You take the chaotic, overwhelming volume of information and distill it down into a single, actionable insight.
So if you build the most accurate predictive model in your company's history,
But you cannot explain its conclusions simply to the sales team. Your model is entirely useless.
wow. So the complexity is actually your burden to carry. You suffer through the messy data so the executive doesn't have to.
Yes. And that is why understanding the data is paired with explaining your work clearly.
Because you can't simplify what you don't understand.
Exactly. You have to understand the context of the numbers so thoroughly that you can explain them to someone who has absolutely no technical background.
This philosophy bleeds directly into section 4, interview tips.
The most stressful part.
Oh, definitely. Because knowing that the company wants simplicity is great in theory, but demonstrating it while you are sweating in an interview chair, totally different challenge.
Very different.
The guidance suggests candidates need to do 4 things. Talk about past experience, explain how they analyze data, describe challenges, and explain solutions.
Anyone preparing for an interview needs to look at those 4 points, not just as isolated questions, but as a framework for communication.
Like a structure for your answers.
Right. How do you structure a response so it doesn't just sound like a rambling list of tasks you did once?
If we view this through the lens of storytelling, an interview answer is basically a classic narrative arc.
Oh, I like that.
First, you talk about past experience. That is setting the scene. You are establishing the environment, your role, the initial state of the world.
Right, the setup.
Then you explain how you analyze data. That is the rising action. The plot is moving forward. You are pulling out your tools. You are investigating the mystery.
And that structure builds momentum. The interviewer is following a logical progression rather than trying to piece together your fragmented thoughts.
Exactly. And then we hit the climax of the story, describing challenges. This is the core conflict, the dragon you have to slay. And finally, you explain the solutions, which is the satisfying resolution where the hero returns with the treasure.
It's a great formula.
But I want to pause on that climax describing challenges. There is a really deep psychological resistance to doing this.
Oh, massive resistance.
Because when I am in an interview trying to win a job, the absolute last thing I want to do is admit that I struggled.
Right.
Or that my code broke, or that I didn't know what to do. It feels like career suicide.
It feels counterintuitive, yeah. But avoiding the challenge is the actual mistake.
Really?
Think about it. If an applicant sits in front of me and claims that every project they've ever touched went smoothly,
That the data was pristine.
and their algorithms ran perfectly on the first try, I will immediately assume one of 2 things. Either they are lying to me, or they have never worked with real data.
Because real data always fights back.
Always. Things break,
Yeah.
deadlines get compressed, servers go down. By actively describing a challenge like maybe a moment where you realize two databases had completely conflicting information, you are offering undeniable proof of battle.
You are showing them you don't panic when the laboratory catches fire.
Precisely. Or rather, you are showing them your methodology for putting the fire out.
Ah.
The employer doesn't care what you do when everything is easy. They need to know how you behave when the system fails 20 minutes before a major presentation.
Yeah. How do you pivot?
How do you isolate the problem? And crucially, how do you communicate that challenge simply and clearly to your stakeholders?
So, discussing your struggles is actually your greatest opportunity to prove your actual worth.
It completely flips the script. You aren't apologizing for the challenge. You're using it as a stage to showcase your resilience.
You'll love that. So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We have mapped out a really fascinating journey today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We started with the foundational blend of mathematical logic and business intuition. We moved through the active, hands-on creation of a portfolio that proves your worth in a sea of resumes. We dove into the psychology of corporate leaders who desperately crave simplicity, and we unpacked how to turn your technical struggles into compelling stories during an interview.
And the through line connecting all of these phases is the human element. The machines do the calculating, but the human does the interpreting.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've explored today.
Okay.
Given that the guidance repeatedly stresses soft skills, clear explanation, and simple communication, is it possible that the ultimate goal of a truly elite data analyst is to make the data completely invisible?
Oh, wow. That's a strong way to put it.
Think about it. Your job isn't to dump a spreadsheet on someone's desk. Your job is to make the raw numbers disappear entirely, leaving behind only the clear, undeniable truth of the solution. You take that 10 million line smeared grocery receipt, you internalize all the chaos, and you hand the CEO back a single, perfectly clear sentence about what they need to do next.
It forces you to view every spreadsheet, not as an endpoint, but as just raw material for clarity.
If you can master that disappearing act, you aren't just an analyst anymore, you are indispensable.
Absolutely.
Something to keep in mind as you approach your own workplace communication, whether you are writing a complex line of Python or just sending a routine email.
Keep it simple.
Follow for more workplace English. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today.